Today's class is the last class in the Benefits of Yoga series, and today's class is about who is an advanced yogi, or what does it mean to be an advanced yogi. Hello and welcome to episode 210 of Namaste Yoga. Finally, Mother Nature has had her way with us for the last couple of weeks, and so we're happy to be finally with you. We had a huge ice storm in Toronto, some of you may have heard about, and that kept us without power and heat for 5 days in our own home. And then we traveled to Florida, where we are now. In Florida, Mother Nature's been having fun with us here as well. It was super cold out and we couldn't film outside, and then it was raining and and today it's foggy, but I know the natives are getting restless for another class, so here we are. Here's episode 210 finally, so we apologize for the delay, but sometimes not very often. We have been very consistent over the last 4 years, but this time it just couldn't be helped. There was nothing we could do with that ice storm when we didn't have power and access to our technology and stuff. Anyway, here we are, episode 210, and we're in Florida, and I don't know, the sun seems to have gone on vacation since we arrived. We had a beautiful day yesterday. We had our Florida meetup, and it was gorgeous yesterday. So we're hoping for the rest of our vacation the sun will come back out. I have a testimonial from Helena to begin today. And she gave us a donation, so she said, you're very welcome. Actually, the donation was just me saying thank you so much for your wonderful work and for sharing your wisdom with the world. I have never been to a yoga class like yours before. Your lessons have added a lot of added value to them. I love that each lesson has a specific topic and how you refer to it throughout the lesson. It turns the lessons into something completely different than just an exercise. I also like how you explain the meaning of the poses, for example, the warriors. I find it much easier to remain in the pose longer if I can focus on the meaning instead of my hurting muscles. So thank you so much, Helena. We really do appreciate your donations. They help us to make these podcasts available to all of you throughout the world. And if you'd like to make a donation, you can do that at melissawest.com. So for today's class, you're going to need some props. You'll need a wall, if you have one, some blocks, or a blanket. And since we're traveling, I don't have any props, but I'll show you how to use them. And I'll get you to rest back, lie down on your backs in Shavasana. Just tuck your shoulder blades underneath you. And if your low back is tender at all, you can always bend your knees and rest your feet flat on the floor. And then take a deep breath in and let it fall out of your mouth. And we'll go into our last class on the Benefits of Yoga's series on what it is to be an advanced yogi. So being an advanced yogi and advancing in your yoga practice, in my opinion, has less to do with complicated and extreme asana. And instead, it's about being able to listen inwardly on a deep and subtle level. Ganga White, author of Yoga Beyond Belief, and I agree on this point, that awareness is much more important than attaining more and more exotic postures. Instead, your yoga practice becomes an opportunity for you to listen to your own body, your thoughts, your emotions, energy, and spirit. It's a time for you to gather and develop the tools for self-therapy and self-healing to keep your body in balance. And remember, as we learned in our class on balance, that balance is not a state of arrival, rather a constant process of adjustment from moment to moment. So as you advance in your yoga practice, it is a matter of refining more than attaining, as Ganga White says. And he suggests asking yourself these questions. Am I gaining a greater understanding of my body? Am I learning how to heal myself? And I think you learn that by listening to your body. Am I learning the subtler and different ways of using the poses and how each asana affects my body to produce different results? Am I gaining an understanding of the energy fields of my body and how these energy fields flow? Am I beginning to get some control of my own autonomic nervous system and some of the unconscious processes of my body? We did a whole class on that as well. Am I less rigid in my beliefs and less fixed in particular systems and structures? Am I alive and awake in my practice? Constantly questioning and willing to vacate my position, figuratively and actually. Am I questioning not only others, but myself? Is my mind becoming more open, more compassionate, and more peaceful? And I would add some of my own questions. When students come to me complaining that their yoga practice is not difficult enough, or that a class is not difficult enough, I would ask them, are you aware of and connected to your breath in every asana? So I know that that's never actually been true for me through an entire yoga practice yet. And some other questions to consider is my spine lengthening in each asana? Am I connected to a sense of grounding in each pose? Am I energized or exhausted by my yoga practice? And what is happening at the level of my organ body during my yoga practice? What kind of information can I gather about myself emotionally in response to this asana? So to me, these are the guideposts of an advanced practice. So the next time you rigidly ask your body to contort into a yoga posture without ahimsa or compassion, back up and question the intention of your practice. Today we will do just that. We will take a step back and practice simple shapes with the mind of an advanced yogi. So as you rest back here, begin to form an intention for your practice, and we'll continue to start by centering here. And ask yourself if there's something you could do here to allow your body to connect more deeply to the ground. How can I allow my body to sink more deeply into the ground here? What needs to happen so that gravity can accept the weight of my body? And imagine your brain, your organs, and your bones resting back deeply. Now ask yourself, am I connected to my breathing here? How could you more fully open to your breath? And then from here we're going to take a small shape, and so today's class we're going to take a lot of small shapes and just notice the differences. So I'm going to just take your hands, and you could take, whoops, there goes my whole tea. Oh, boo. Is there any left? A little bit. Now that was really poor awareness. That was not a very advanced yogi move to dump your tea. Boo. Okay, you can take your arms all the way overhead. I'm going to keep mine bent just because the grass is really wet here. And then you're going to side bend to one side. And then come back to the center. And go ahead and do that side bend on the other side as well. And then come back to the center. And in the center, place your hands on your belly. And just notice from here how that's affected your breathing, how that's opened up your breathing. And notice your breath in the front, back, sides, and top, and bottom, and torso of your torso. And here, I want you also to bring awareness to your spine. So the spine from the base of your tailbone all the way up to behind the bridge of your nose at the top of your spine. Just bring some awareness to your spine before we come into your next posture. And then bring your arms out to a soft T. Bend your right leg. Press into your right foot. You're going to tuck your left hip under and come into a reclined twist. And then come back to the center. Press into your right foot. Untuck your pelvis. Come back to the center and just check in. See if you can feel any differences in your spine. Maybe differences in the right and left side of your spine, any difference in your breathing, any difference in the relationship between your body and the way it's resting into the ground here. And then you can bend your left leg and press into your left foot to tuck your right hip under, cross your left leg all the way over to your right side, look over your left shoulder. And then you can roll back onto your back, press into your foot, untuck your hips, come back to the center. And just notice how your spine has changed because of that twist. Notice if it feels longer or more released, maybe more relaxed, closer to the ground, more flexible. And then bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. And we're going to take a simple posture here and see how you can tune into the sensations of your body in this simple posture. So you're going to bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. Cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. Open your right knee out to the side. Draw your left knee in. Reach through. Hold on behind your knee. And we're going to play around with edge here, and that's that place between too much and too little. And you're going to stop when you feel sensation in your glutes, in your outer thigh. And for most people, our hips are pretty tight just from being human beings, sitting in chairs, going up and down stairs, and walking, and also being sedentary too. So hips and glutes are pretty tight. So you want to, if it's too much, back off a little bit. If it's not enough, you can come on a bit more. But just bring awareness to the sensations that are happening in your body and respond to what's happening accordingly by giving yourself a little bit more or backing off. And also knowing that sensation is going to change during the duration of the pose, so that you may need to shift and adjust. So for example, at this point now my hips let go a little bit, so I might want to draw my leg in a little bit more so that I deepen that sensation after it let go. And then you can release that down, uncross your leg, and even take your legs out again and feel the difference between the right and left side of your body underneath in your glutes, underneath your pelvis. And then we'll go ahead and do the other side, so that you cross your left ankle over the top of your right thigh, draw your left legs in, reach through. And again, this side's going to be different, so stop where you feel sensation. Notice where you need to deepen. And know that it's going to be different from day to day too. So you can go ahead and release your legs down. And then roll to your right side. And come on up for cat pose. So in cat pose is a great opportunity to really be aware of our spines. And as we advance in our practice, we can even practice working from different parts of our spine. So from here, you're going to spread your fingers nice and wide and rest them underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. And today we're going to start by from our tailbone, move from our tailbone, rounding up from the base of our spine to our head. Okay, so start from your tailbone, curl under, move up to your navel, pull up through your heart, and then round to your head. And then come out from your head, heart, and then let your tailbone be the last thing to lift. So try that again. So tailbone, navel, heartless, head drops. And then we'll come up from our head, heart goes down, navel goes down, and tail lifts. So trying to move sequentially through your spine. Maybe a little more advanced practice that requires more awareness. And breathing too at the same time. So you breathe out as you round. So notice what's happening with your spine and how your spine's responding to these movements. What it's like to be with your breath as you move like this. And then we're going to come to a comfortable seated position. You can sit in a chair for this, so you can sit cross-legged. You may want to sit on a blanket so that your hips are elevated. So this is Sukhasana. This is easy pose, and as you become a more advanced yogi, sitting becomes easier as your hips open up. And also, I think as you become more advanced as a yogi, at least this has become my experience, that well, and this is why yogis practice too, so I think it's safe to make this statement, that they practice so that they can sit. You get all those aches and creaks out of your body, and then it becomes easy to sit for long periods of time. So we're going to sit here and bring awareness to what's happening in our body. So just do a short seated meditation, really. I think as we become more advanced in our practice, what happens is the doors of awareness open up. And so that's what we're going to do. Just sit in a comfortable position. You can have maybe just have your palms turned down on your knees so that you can turn your awareness inwards, bring your awareness internally, and close your eyes. Make sure your pelvis and legs are rooted to the floor so that your spine is free. And breathe through your nose. And take this time to turn all the senses that you use during the day to perceive your outer world inward, to observe your breath. Remember, we have infinite time here and no ambition, nowhere to go, nowhere to get to. Begin by noticing what happens when your breath moves in and out of your body. So no right or wrong, no better, best answer here. You're just observing what's happening in your breath, in your body when your breath moves in and out of your body. Gather up all your senses to observe the whole process. Be curious about how your breath travels in and out of your body. Allow yourself to listen with your inner ear so that all your attention turns towards the most minute movements created by your breath. And when you listen to your breath, it's not strength that you use. The intelligence that you use during the day, you have to leave all that behind. Listening to your breath requires a new kind of intelligence. It's a kind of intelligence that we're familiar with as yogis. Patanjali would call it ahimsa. So it's not aggressive. It doesn't impose. It's a compassionate presence. It watches and witnesses. Okay, so when you're ready, you can open your eyes and just notice what it was like to take that time to be with your breath and observe and open the doors of awareness to your breath like that. And then we're going to practice asana as a preparation for warrior one, as the mini or warrior one. We're going to do this like a kneeling warrior one. So you're going to come to kneeling and walk your left leg through. Sink down through your front left foot so that it's really rooted and grounded. Come upright. Really think about dropping your tailbone and extending through the front of your right hip through here. As this drops more, you can get a really nice back bend through your thoracic spine that goes all the way from the front of your hip to the back of your skull. So inhale and reach up. And this is the same kind of action that we're going to repeat in Virabhadrasana. One, standing. Okay, and then you can release this. And we'll do this on the other side, so this time you'll step your right foot through and just take some time to really spread your toes here. Feel the base of your foot, especially behind your big toe ball joint here. Sink down. Open up through the front of your left hip. Drop and sink here. And then think of that arc from starting from the opening of your hip, creating this back bend here up to the top of the base of your skull. And then release this posture out of your body. Use that memory so that we can recreate that posture when you come to standing. We're going to do Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Hands under your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. Tuck your toes under. Inhale. Exhale, reach your hips up towards the ceiling. Now in downward facing dog, just notice, is your spine lengthening? That is my preferred, most important thing to happen in downward facing dog. Are you breathing? Notice what happens with your breath. And another thing to be curious about in downward facing dog is what's happening with my organs. I feel like it's kind of like, notice what's happening in your body, but in my body I notice that my organs get kind of a nice little reprieve in downward facing dog. And then from Adho Mukha Svanasana, we're going to make our ways up to standing, so you can walk your feet into your hands. Okay, from standing, come towards the back of your mat, and we're going to do Warrior One. And we're going to do it the way I learned at Esther Myers, the way Vanda Scaravalli taught them, which was the short stance Warrior One. And the reason for this is that she felt that all the standing postures came from Tadasana and were like an extension of walking, so that you wouldn't come into your standing postures like ka-chunk. You would come to them as though you were walking. So it was a very natural step. So what we'll do is we'll take a step as though you're going to walk. So you'll take a step into Warrior One, and both your feet should be pointing straight ahead. And then we want to mimic that movement that you had in the lunge. So where your hip is extending forward, so you feel that opening in the front of your hip, and then you feel that nice back bend being created again from the front of your hip into your chest to the base of your skull, and your arms come up. And there's the short stance Warrior One. So I feel like these short stance postures are actually quite advanced postures because they kind of go like this over the heads of beginners. They are so subtle that you really need to be more advanced to appreciate them, I think. And then you can let this posture fall out of your body. And we'll do this again on the other side. So come towards the back of your mat again. So in these postures, both your feet are pointing straight ahead, so as though you're in railroad tracks. You take a step forward as though you're walking with your right foot. And then it's that opening up at the front of your hip. You sink down through your right sit bone and front of your left hip. And that nice arc into the little back bend here from the front of your hip, lifting your chest all the way up to the back of your skull. Same as we did in the lunge and Anjaneyasana. And you can feel a real rootedness through your lower body and your legs, and a freedom in your spine here. And notice what's happening with your breath here too. I notice a real movement and opening in my lungs here as well. And then you can release this posture from your body. Okay. And then you're going to come back down to seated, and we're going to do a posture that kind of raises a lot of controversy in the yoga world, called Ardha Supta Virasana, half reclined hero's pose. Here's where you're gonna, if you have a wall, to get a wall behind you, and if you have props like blocks and blankets, this is where you're going to use them. You're actually going to come to kneeling like this. You're going to kneel like this to start. You're going to put one leg in front of you. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to sit. We've never come into it this way before, but I think this is going to be a really brilliant way to come into it, and a really safe way to come into it. A lot of times this pose is avoided because of discomfort in your knees and your low back. But in yoga, we spend so much time opening up your hamstrings and hardly any times opening up the fronts of the thighs. And then what happens is your pelvis starts to get this anterior tilt, a forward tilt, and your low back gets compressed. So it's really important to spend as much time opening up the fronts of our thighs. And, you know, as yogis, we are actually guilty of not stretching our muscles in a balanced way. So as we advance as yogis, it's really important to focus on both strength and flexibility, and to think about how to do things in a balanced way. So this is part of it. We're releasing a video this week on our Living Your Yoga channel as well, where we talk about how to differentiate between pain and feeling a sensation that's just maybe a little foreign because it hasn't happened before, or because it's a stretch, and it's the difference between soreness and something that your body is telling you to get out of. So in your knee joint, you want to be aware of pains that are sharp, shooting, electric, quick pain, quick sensation too. So you want to get out for those. You want to feel sensation in the belly of your muscles and not in your joints. So those are cautions. If you start to feel something electric, sharp, shooting in your joint, then that's a caution to get out. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to sit down on the inside of your heel. Okay? So this is Ardha Supta Virasana, half reclined hero's pose, only we're not reclining yet. And actually I'm already getting a pretty deep sensation in the top of my thigh. So with the wall behind you, you can just start to lean against the wall. And the whole idea for this pose to be safe is that you're supposed to be on the top of your foot. Now, the way we've done it in the past is that you've done it on the floor and you've started turning your foot in, and then you're on the side of your foot, and it's not safe for your knee joint. So this is a much safer way to come into it. And you can start to lean back. So if you've got the wall behind you, you lean on the wall. If you don't, you can lean back on your elbows. Depending on your flexibility, you may be able to lie down on the ground. You can stack up if you've got a bolster. Bolster's a great idea here, bolster and blanket. But really feeling the stretch in the belly of your muscles here. So this is also a really great stretch for the tops of your ankles and feet. And I chose this as an advanced posture because it takes discernment as a yogi to know what's good in this pose. Okay, so to come out of this pose, the leg's going to stay still, and you're going to come forward and back up. And then we'll switch sides. So you're going to come to kneeling again. Just feel the difference between your two legs. You'll bring the leg you've already stretched up. And now you'll sit on the inside of your left heel. So the top of your foot is on the ground. You're sitting just on the inside of your left heel. Know that this side's going to be different. You can lean back. You can have the wall behind you, or your bolsters and your blankets. And you're going to lean back. Somebody's watching us? Oh, bird. Oh, yeah. And then you can slowly come back up. Your legs stay still, and you come back forward. So you can also do this with both legs, and if you want to stay with one leg, go with the side that was tighter, and you would sit down between your two heels, and this is where the wall is useful. You can lean, so see, this is too tight for me because my knees are lifting off. But so you would use the wall or your bolsters and lean back and stretch that way. Or your arms. But so that's getting a good stretch in the tops of my thighs. How to do yoga with no props. It's better to use props. Okay. And then you can come up and out of this pose. So again, your legs stay still and you come forward and out is the way out. So dull and achy is okay. Sharpshooting is not okay for pain. And then you're going to take your legs straight out in front of you. And we're going to sit in dandasana. Pay attention to, as you advance in yoga, your hamstrings are going to get longer. And your pelvis isn't going to be curled under. So if it is, you're just going to prop yourself up on blankets until it isn't. And just make sure your pelvis isn't being pulled under here. And then bend your right leg in, open your right leg out to the side. Inhale here. You're going to exhale, roll your pelvis over your leg bones. Stay long through your spine. For Janu Shirshasana, head beyond knee pose. And seated forward folds are really challenging. They're a little less challenging when you bend one leg. Switch sides. Inhale up. Exhale, roll your pelvis over your leg bones. And fold forward. Then come on back up. And you can make your way down to lying on your back for Shavasana. So in Shavasana, I have a poem from you from a collection of poems called Mala of the Heart by Mirabai, a poet from India. In my travels, I spent time with a great yogi. Once he said to me, "Become so still you hear the blood flowing through your veins." One night, as I sat in quiet, I seemed on the verge of entering into a world so vast. I know it is the source of all of us. So reflect back on your experience of this class. What does it mean for you to be an advanced yogi and to advance in your practice of yoga? When you think about that, what it means for you to be advancing as a yogi and to have it to to have an advanced practice and to be advancing in your practice. I'd love to hear what that means for you. So you can leave it in the comments. Think about that. So rest back for as long as you wish. When you're ready, you can gradually allow your breath to deepen. Wiggle and stretch out. Bend your knees, roll to your right side. And slowly make your way up to seated. Thank you for joining me for episode 210 of Namaste Yoga. We finally got it to you. And I will see you next week for episode 211. We're going to be beginning our Hanuman series, which will be really fun. And I look forward to hearing your comments. You can leave them at melissawest.com or on the membership site. And I'd love to hear what it's meant for you to advance as a yogi as you've been practicing. Namaste.